above and beyond, or out the curveball, or that sort of thing. But Richard is going to be taking us on an amazing journey today to really help a lot of us, all of us, when it comes to, having the correct approach in how we deal with things, when it comes to worry and anxiety, and really getting out of being stuck, and taking you and giving you these tools in order to be able to move yourself forward. And we're going to be focusing as well today on that all-important mindset, how we can shift ourselves up, move forward, and get out of our own way in order to really take on the challenges that we're faced with. And really, I think for me, and I know speaking on behalf of our team here at the British School of Excellence, and as you all know from last week, Richard announced that we've just launched from the British School of Etiquette into the British School of Excellence. It's something that I think we've all got unique talents, and those talents are unique to us. How do we tap into them? How do we make the most out of what we've been given in order to move forward with our lives? So it's going to be a fantastic time together.
Thank you so much, Philip. Well, I have you on Spotlight. Can you also share that you've been doing some amazing work with a special group of people? And I think it's really important because manners and etiquette have a place for all of us starting at an early age.
Couldn't agree with you more, Dr. Jacalyn. Everything is about how we are educated or how we are introduced in life. How do we get introduced into dealing with situations, or we as adults, I think the responsibility sits on our shoulders, because we're so ready to say no, we're so ready to belittle someone, we're so ready to, the old adage in life, and I don't like I hope the audience takes in the right way, it's monkey see, monkey do. If we've been dealt with in a certain way, we're inevitably going to deal with people in a certain way going forward in our lives. And we all have an opportunity, and I think a duty and a responsibility, to give our children the tools, the quintessential tools of good etiquette and manners, because in that way you're going to set them up for the rest of their lives. Not all of us are born with, being the sharpest person, or a rocket scientist, or a professor, or a mathematician. A lot of us are, I would like to call not even average. We're unique. We have our own talents, and we really and truly need to tap into those talents. But by giving someone the guiding principles of good etiquette and manners, will absolutely set someone up on the right path and the right road for their journey in life.
Very well said. Thank you. And Richard has been here before. He's provided so much incredible content. So thank you again for the introduction. You two work together so well as a team. So what do you feel about us bringing him out now?
Let's do it.
Let's bring him out. Hello, Richard. Welcome.
Hello, Dr. Jacalyn. Lovely to see you. And thank you so much for inviting me back to the show, both of you, you and Philip. I so look forward to these sessions with you.
Well, you bring so much value and so many wonderful gems that can help all of us. So I know we've got some exciting topics today that Philip just shared. So where would you like to start? First, I would share with the audience about your role at the British School of Excellence.
Okay, wonderful. So I head up the EQ faculty at the British School of Excellence, where I have created and I train and coach some wonderful emotional intelligence programs, as well as personal development courses. I work very closely with my colleague Philip in producing webinars, working together on the show like this together, and truly my sacred commission in life is to help people develop their emotional intelligence and also help them to discover their purpose in life.
Thank you so much, Richard. So let's start a little bit by talking about something that is really relatable, I think, to all of us at some point in our lives, especially today, and that is worry and anxiety.
Yeah, I don't think there's any one of us that doesn't get caught up in a worrying cycle. And the unfortunate thing is, chronic worriers often think that they are solving a problem, but they're not. They get caught up in this sort of low-grade melodrama, this low-grade endless cycle or loop, with one concern leading to another concern, leading to another concern, and back to the original concern, and round they go, without solving the problem that started them worrying in the first place. Now, that doesn't help them because they get caught up in the psychological state of worrying. And that causes anxiety. And when we are anxious, we are unable to think clearly, to learn quickly, to solve problems critically and creatively. And then, of course, that just feeds into the anxiety, and the anxiety gets worse. And a garden variety of anxiety could become a clinical version of anxiety, and so things get really bad. The first thing that we need to do when we get caught up in worrying is we need to be conscious enough. Remember, we spoke about consciousness and self-awareness last week. When you are conscious of yourself starting to worry, then you have an opportunity to stop it in its tracks. But you need to be conscious of, maybe you see something, maybe you hear something, you even smell something, and this worrying starts. You've got to catch it at its inception and immediately challenge that worry and say to yourself, is this real or is this imagined? What is an alternative, plausible viewpoint that is fact-based and objective? So don't allow the anxiety created by the worry to overtake you, but rather focus on the facts around the worry. That's the first thing that we need to do. We need to be conscious about the worry at its inception and offer ourselves a plausible alternative viewpoint. The next thing is, if the worry is a real problem, we need to sit down with pen and paper. And I often suggest this to my students. I will say, if it's a decision you're going to make or it's a problem that you have, consider all the emotional aspects as well as the fact-based or rational aspects of the problem, and then try and solve it. And the simplest way to do that is to draw a line down the center of a page, and on the left-hand side, write down everything you feel about this worry or this problem, and then on the right-hand side, write down everything that you think or the facts about this problem, and then park it. You don't have to solve the problem straight away. Just by putting it down on paper will reduce your anxiety. And I don't know if you've ever done that, where you've reduced the problem to writing it down on paper, but as soon as we do that, the anxiety seems to fall away. If you feel that you're overwhelmed by anxiety, there are other things that you can do in the moment that will help you to reduce the feeling of anxiety. You mentioned last week, Dr. Jacalyn, that when you go and get your pulse taken at the doctor, you think about being on a beach, watching the waves crash. And actually what happens is when you visualize something beautiful like that, your heart rate slows down and your blood pressure goes down as well. Now, I will encourage my students to develop a visualization technique, which I call the secret garden. Now, the secret garden is different for everybody. I like to encourage people to say, do you remember a time in your past where you felt completely at ease, completely at peace with yourself, content, at one with nature? And I use the example of my own secret garden to encourage them to remember moments in their life that they can use as their own secret garden. And it takes me back to when I was 18 years old. I was at university in Cape Town, and I was bunking university one Tuesday morning, actually. It was 10 o'clock in the morning. I took myself out to this incredible, beautiful beach called Llandudno in Cape Town. And I parked my car, and because it was during the work week, nobody was on the beach. And I clambered over some rocks and walked across another beach, and clambered over some rocks and walked across another beach. I eventually landed up at this completely deserted beach with the nature reserve behind me, and all I could hear were the waves gently crashing against the beach and the sound of crickets and birds in the background. And I sat under this little tree on the edge of the nature reserve and just took in this beautiful, beautiful sight. The ocean was crystal clear and like a mirror glass. And when I was warm enough, I ran down and I dived into the ocean, and I felt the crisp, cold Atlantic Ocean envelop me and burst out of this water, and could feel the sun bouncing off my body. And I just felt in that moment absolutely free. And I go to that place when I am overwhelmed by anxiety. And what you will find is if you immerse yourself in an experience like that, you see it, you smell it, you feel it, you hear it, what happens is the anxiety just falls off you like a cheap suit. You can do that in combination with some breathing exercises. But I don't want to talk too much. I'd rather have more of a conversation. But that's just a few things I'd like to share about worry and anxiety right now. There are some more other things you can do to reduce your anxiety, of course.
I think there's some excellent points, and I have noticed myself when I feel anxiety, it seems like the world is smaller because you get on this tunnel and that's all you can see. And I've been working with a couple people who are going through something like this where they're completely obsessed with something and they're very nervous about it, and it's like everything in the world falls apart. So I love these tips that you gave to help us in the moment realize what's going on and to actually take action. Philip, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I just pray and hope that everybody out there has a pen and paper in hand, or at least are able to sort of listen to this and later write down some of those amazing. Those are very, very sort of clear tools, and it's something as an organization that right from the outset, how did we differentiate ourselves from our competitors, and not even competitors. We just wanted to sort of get rid of the old fashioned idea that etiquette and manners is all about knives and forks and blah, blah, blah. We wanted to let people understand that there's power in etiquette, manners, and your emotional intelligence. And I always use, whenever and Dr. Jacalyn and Rich knows this, you both know this, but whenever I bring in the word etiquette and manners, it 100% is encompassed with the EQ, your emotional intelligence. And it was very much the driving force behind giving people the correct tools to move forward in their lives. So whether it's youngsters, teenagers, adults, this is something that's a key ingredient. And Richard has summed it up beautifully because, for example, in our Mindset and Manners, which is our teenager program, and actually a program which we've just been running in Bermuda to a lovely school there called Chatmore, to 10, 12, 14-year-olds. And we talk about mood control. We talk about, which Richard is, he's the guru in this. And again, I want to just drop in there that anyone listening, if any of you have ever sort of wondered or pondered on how you can move forward in life, I'm telling you right now, you need to be looking at your emotional intelligence journey at the forefront of everything. But we give our students this opportunity to understand, a little bit, dig into a bit of self-awareness and digging into that self-control. And then we give them some tools on how to manage, which ways can we manage our mood? How can we help ourselves? And just as Richard just shared, I love that secret garden. And many years ago, and actually it was in lockdown, it was last year, we had this lovely young girl on our ETIQUETTE course. She's 9 years old. First day we kick off, and the lovely class, I think there were 8 in the class, and from all over the world. And this young lady came on the second day, and I could see there was something bugging her. You read the body language, and I said to her, let's call it Jennifer. I said, Jennifer, what's up? No, I'm fine. And the head goes down, the body language, as you said, doctor, smaller. All of a sudden, everything. And I said, come on. Yeah. I said, I tell you what do you love doing in your pastime? Where do you go on holiday? And they were a very fortunate family. They go to the Maldives. I said, what do you love about the Maldives? She said, I love snorkeling. I said, okay, you and I are now going to put our masks on, and we're going to go snorkeling together. And we jumped into the water together, and we said, did you see that parrotfish? Look at the colors on that turtle. Look at the colors on the carp. And we went through this lovely little imaginary snorkeling experience together. And I said, okay, now we're going to come out the water. We're going to take our mask off. How are you feeling? Are you ready to engage? She was a completely different person. So, it's just so powerful. And it gives me goosebumps in sharing that, because every single one of us have the ability to do this. And you've just got to take action in doing it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think it might be helpful to our audience that, they might think that the three of us don't get nervous or have anxiety. And so what I'll share with you is the first broadcast of every day, which is this one. I get very nervous. My heart starts racing. I start perspiring, and I'm thinking, I have to get the production right. I have to do this. I have to do that. And right as we start and I'm running the board, I look outside and I see the birds and I see the water, and I just take a deep breath and I say, everything's going to be okay. And if it's not, you'll figure it out. So, Philip, Richard, anything you want to share about times when you feel anxious and what you do to calm yourself down?
I'd love to add something else in there. Before I actually went on this emotional intelligence journey, which started about 3 years ago, and I started practicing the tools that we're talking about, the techniques that we're talking about right now, I suffered from really high levels of anxiety. And one of the best ways, apart from what I've spoken about just now and what Philip's spoken about, the visualization techniques, using your imagination, is breathing. And the power of deep breathing, and I will use the power of 5. So breathing in deeply for 5 seconds, and then breathing out for a full 5 seconds. Breathing in deeply for 5 seconds, breathing out for a full 5 seconds. While you're doing that, imagine you're in your secret garden. So it's a combination of oxygenating your brain, giving yourself these good fuel chemicals through breathing correctly in your brain so that you can think clearly, you can solve problems, you can be more alert, and taking yourself to a place where you feel really comfortable and content and happy. And you can literally do that in the space of a few minutes, and boom, you're ready to start your show, you're ready to stand up in front of a class, you're ready to do a presentation in the boardroom. The other thing that I'd love to just add, the sort of final thing about worry and anxiety, and I've noticed this in my own business life and in the people that I work with as well, is when they get too worried or too anxious about work and it starts becoming overwhelming, I always say to them, go to your plan. Now, what's in the plan? I teach this very simple 6-step method. The night before, visualize the day that's coming up and write down the 6 most important things and most urgent things you need to do the next day. Now, it's very important to prioritize those 6 things. And what I do is I share with them this methodology that I learned from Dr. Stephen Covey. And that is work out what is the most urgent and important thing to do. Let's say the scale is 20, or rather 10. And on urgency, it's a 10 out of 10. And on importance, it's a 10 out of 10, i.e. it's a score of 20. It is the most urgent and important thing. That would be number 1 on your list of 6 things to do tomorrow. That is a very simple plan to use on a daily basis to keep yourself from being over anxious, because you've written down and visualized what is important and urgent for you to do. I mean, we could take this really to the next level and talk about goal planning and using your time far more effectively. But those are some simple tools that I would use: breathing and writing down a simple plan that will reduce your worry and your anxiety.
Thank you, Richard. I was actually practicing that breathing while you were suggesting it, and I felt,
Wonderful.
Thank you.
It's fascinating, Dr. Jacalyn, and anyone who really throws their whole heart and being into what they do And I know I can point a finger at my wonderful friend Richard. Richard is absolutely fastidious about boom, 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 boom. And Richard actually pointed out to me the other day, he says, it's okay to make a mistake. You don't need to be always polished, you can, you know what, we're all in this together. Let's just put your best foot forward. It doesn't have to be, we're not perfect, we're human beings. We need to understand. And so a lot of us do get so hit up about, it's got to be perfect. And as you just said, if it didn't go your way and you had a technical fault, what you've had, we've all had, you make a plan, okay? You improvise, you make a plan. Okay, and on that particular note is, for me, I think one of the real crucial things is that there's no cookie cutter approach to what we do. We all get anxious. No matter how many times Richard runs the EQ 101, leading with emotional intelligence, or his shift high performance selling program, or his About Me program, I can well assure you, he's in there the day before preparing, he's there the hour before preparing, he's anxious, he's doing his breathing, because he's going to deliver the best. He's going to be better than the last coaching session, as we all have that mindset mentality. And that way, you produce outstanding material.
Spot on. And something else I'd like to add before we take a break is that many times we feel anxious about something because we think other people are going to observe something or think something. And in the meantime, they have no idea because they're focused on what they're doing. And I'll give an example that just happened during this show. Philip, when we first started, I clicked on Spotlight and it didn't work. I was going to spotlight you. And then I clicked on it again and it didn't work. And I clicked on it a third time and it worked. And I was like, now it's going to go up, back, up, back. He's going to be there, gone, there, gone, there, gone. And people are probably going to be like, what's happening there? And I thought, I can't control the technology. If it does happen, I will just apologize. But guess what? It didn't even happen and nobody knew until I just shared it now. So
that's great.
So that's my point. We have to get out of our head and just look at the situation and follow these tips that you are both giving. So wonderful. I want to take a break and I want to share two really amazing music videos. One is from a woman named Sam Sarah, and I just absolutely love it. It's Nothing Is Wrong With Me. And then we will go right to Madeline Chan, Follow Love. And we'll be back here on USA Global TV and Business Talk Radio. Stay with us.
What you giving me is just not enough. I need a love to take me higher and higher and higher. Every step I take, I feel more awake. Getting closer now, I feel so alive. Stopping me, this is how I live. Ever closer now. Just follow love. Love will take you there. Just follow love. Follow me. Just follow love. Love will take you there. Just follow love.
how about that music? Wasn't that amazing? So inspirational.
Great
Thank you. I saw you moving back there, Richard. Thank you to Sam, Sarah, and also to Madeline Chan for those sponsorships. We really appreciate it. You are watching USA Global TV, home of Talking Heads, or maybe you're listening in on Business Talk Radio out of New York. Our show is The Power of Etiquette and Manners, and we have two experts here from the British School of Excellence, Philip Sykes and Richard Cullinan. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being here. I am very excited for this next segment of our show. Let us turn to a growth mindset. Who wants to start? Richard?
Okay, if you wouldn't mind, I'll go for it, Philly. So, you know, attitude and mindset are synonymous. So if you have a great attitude, you have a great mindset. And, you know, the thing about having a growth mindset is you have a different approach to thinking than if you have a fixed mindset. Now, the real expert in this field is a lady by the name of Dr. Carol Dweck, who's a professor of psychology at Stanford University. And she says that you get people who have two different core attitudes. One is being a fixed mindset, the other is having a growth mindset. Now, people with a fixed mindset believe that they are the way they are and they cannot change. And that becomes a problem when you are facing challenges, because you don't feel like you can overcome those challenges and you feel hopeless and overwhelmed because of it. People with a fixed mindset, on the other hand, are constantly looking to learn, and that gives them a completely different approach to solving problems or dealing with challenges or obstacles. So let's just look at the difference between a fixed and a growth mindset. So people with a fixed mindset believe that they cannot change and that effort to achieve mastery in something is fruitless or not worth their time. They tend to have a desire to be smart. Now, we always want smart people on our teams, but when the going gets tough, just being smart is not enough. The problem with people who just want to look smart and don't want to learn and grow is they will avoid challenges. They will tend to give up easily. And when it comes to criticism, they'll avoid feedback or criticism. But people with a growth mindset have a mindset of looking and learning. They become curious about everything that they experience. And this allows them to embrace challenges, in fact, seek out challenges, even though those challenges might seem insurmountable initially. They will persist in the face of setbacks, and they see effort as a path to mastery and a path to change. They love criticism, and they will seek out feedback and criticism from anybody that they meet. Philip spoke about not being hard on yourself when you fail occasionally. Now, that is part of having a growth mindset. In fact, Dr. Dweck says that failure is information. We label it failure, but it's more like, this didn't work, and I'm a problem solver. So let's move on and solve this problem. One of my favorite sort of role models from the past is Henry Ford, who started the Ford Motor Corporation. And he said, whether you think you can or think you can't, either way, you're right. So if you think you can, you will be able to overcome a setback, overcome a challenge, and deal with setbacks, and take criticism on board as an opportunity to learn and do something better the next time. Yeah, so that's my first sort of response to the question of what is a growth mindset.
Thank you so much. We're going to go to Philip. We have a comment from our friend Roland, the most fascinating journey of our life, from our head into our heart. Thank you, Roland, so much for watching. Roland is the co-host of the Mallorca Connection. So we appreciate his support. Okay, Philip, over to you. What would you like to add about a growth mindset?
Well, just to sort of complement exactly what Richard has shared with everybody, and yeah, thank you, Roland, for your comment there. You know, again, in helping our youngsters through these journeys, it's fundamental to really give them the understanding of the importance of a growth mindset. Because again, if you're told that you're silly, you're stupid, you're no good, you're clumsy, as Richard will, I mean, Richard, you know, again, as I said, when Richard talks, I have a pen and paper at hand, and every time we have our general chats on the phone and meetings, my pen's poised, because everything is about how we were dealt with growing up, or how we've sort of perceived something or been introduced to something. And we get very set in our ways. And we obviously, as human beings, we always go to the path that's, you know, of least resistance. And, you know, again, I have a little 7-year-old boy and who's just absolutely stunning, Harley. And whenever he goes down the slippery route of that sort of tendency to, I'm not good at maths, we're going to say to him, you can learn maths, we can help you and we can support you, we can guide you. And so these are the things, as any listeners out there with youngsters in this world, and this obviously stems right up to adulthood and into organizations. And again, I love the fact that Richard brought up, you know, you can have very, very smart people, but those smart people can hold back an organization because they don't have this incredible growth mindset. And funny enough, you know, again, alluding to some of the messages that both Richard and I share with so many people in this fourth industrial revolution, one of the most powerful things going forward that will be part of our amazing repertoire and arsenal will be this positive, creative thinking, being creative, because bots and modern technology will be able to do a huge, and it already is doing a huge amount of work and taking charge of this world. But the human touch, that human creativity, the EQ, the communication skills, these are all the facets that are going to help you on your journey to build that amazing growth mindset. And, you know, just alluding to what Henry Ford suggested, it's the same as Charles Edison. I mean, how many times did he try and create a light bulb? I think he had 10,000 attempts, but never once did he say he failed. Never once did he say he failed. He just said, I learned how not to make the light bulb. So this is, I mean, as Richard alluded to earlier, on all of this material we're sharing with you, we're just scratching the surface. We could, Dr. Jacalyn, you know, as well as all three of us know, and I'm sure your listeners know, is that we could be here for days sharing incredible knowledge and guidance and giving you the most quintessential tools to get unstuck and move forward.
Exactly. I totally agree with that. And I want to just talk for a minute about what it's like when you are with someone, whether it's in a work environment or a personal environment, and they have a fixed mindset versus someone who has a growth mindset. And if you have in a relationship, one with fixed and one with growth, there could be some challenges. What are your thoughts, Richard?
Well, I think firstly, developing a growth mindset is something that can be learned. Just like emotional intelligence is something that you can learn, and that's wonderful. In fact, Dr. Carol Dweck, in her research, clearly determined that people who have a positive attitude and a growth mindset are far more likely to succeed in business and in life than people with a high IQ, for example. So it is possible to encourage people who have a fixed mindset to grow and to accept that curiosity, rather than being right all the time, is a far more enjoyable and life-fulfilling attitude to have. You know, if we look at some great examples of people who had a growth mindset, but had to deal with setbacks. We look at Walt Disney, who gave us the Walt Disney organization. Now, Walt Disney, believe it or not, was fired from a newspaper called the Kansas City Star because they said he lacked imagination. And then you get somebody like J.K. Rowling, who gave us the amazing Harry Potter books. She was turned down by 12 publishers before she got a publisher to agree to publish her books. And she's, you know, a dollar billionaire and a worldwide phenomenon. So these kind of examples to show people what they're capable of, provided they're prepared to push through and persevere. Now, perseverance and dealing with setbacks is a key element of emotional intelligence. And also allowing yourself to fail. I think that's absolutely important. People who are stuck on being perfectionists are not going to grow. So allowing yourself to fail is so important. So just a couple of points about developing a growth mindset, and what you need to have to, what you need to embrace is you need to embrace hope. Hope as a harbinger of great things to come for you in your life, rather than having a pessimistic attitude. Another thing is hang out with similar people who have a growth mindset. You know, one of my favorite authors, Napoleon Hill, who wrote the book Think and Grow Rich in the 1920s, he said, create a brain's trust around yourself, which is people who are like-minded, i.e. people with a growth mindset, who are willing to give you constructive feedback and be your cheerleader when you're doing things right. And talk in positive ways. Don't talk in negative ways. Don't complain. Don't moan. Nobody likes a complainer or a moaner. And seek out the best books to read. You know, seek out the best shows to watch, like your show, Dr. Jacalyn, which is always uplifting. And, you know, don't allow your fear to overcome your ability to act. Just by acting will reduce your anxiety and reduce your fear of not achieving. You know, and just a couple of things is when you do something or when you dream of something, expect results. You know, nobody has ever prayed for something and achieved it or received it without expectation. Expect positive results in your life, and you will draw those positive results into your life. And another thing one needs to do is be flexible and adaptable. Things are not going to always go exactly the way you want them to go, and that's okay. Because if they don't, it's just an opportunity to learn, adjust, go another way, be flexible, find another solution, learn from the failure, and move forward. That little failure might have been an excellent learning opportunity to do it better next time. And, you know, ultimately, our attitude determines our altitude. It's been said as a cliche many, many times, but it's 100% true.
Brilliant, Richard. Thank you. Thank you so much. Follow-up question I have for the two of you, because we're here to help other people, right? We're here to bring information, inspire. So people out there who have a fixed mindset, who you mentioned, Richard, they may be very intelligent. Is the fixed mindset a result of ego? Is it a result of fear? Is it a combination of both, or is it something else? Who wants to take a stab at that one?
I certainly think you nailed it there, Dr. Jacalyn. I think it is a combination of ego. So ego is there really for our self-preservation. And ego is very linked to our sense of identity. And if we feel that our sense of self-preservation or identity is challenged, very often we can respond or react badly. Now, people with a growth mindset do not allow their egos to get in the way of their intelligence. You know, I read an amazing definition of intelligence the other day. And intelligence is being able to have in your mind two competing ideas at the same time. Somebody who's being driven by their ego or self-preservation or want to be right or want to dominate the situation, they're not going to be able to have two competing ideas in their mind at the same time. Whereas an intelligent person, actually intelligent person, would be able to do that.
Bravo. Bravo.
And again, just just again adding to and complementing what Richard says, I think a lack of confidence also kicks in as well. You get what we call the clever clogs in this world. The person who's got to use the big words, the person who's got to brandish the open chest. I'm the leader. I'm in charge here, and they really do lack that confidence. I think they put up a wall. And that holds them back because they don't like to be proven wrong. They don't like to be seen, in a spotlight. They don't like to be shown up. And maybe that's a hangover from being young, who one doesn't know. Again, this is the power of emotional intelligence, is that when you go on an EQ journey, you can actually unwire the negativity and the badness that's happened to you in the past and rewire your brain so that you can move forward. And just as you can do that with your this is exactly where that growth mindset, you can really guide and steer people to showing them the benefits of having a growth mindset. Because if you tell a person with a fixed mindset, you've got to find a way to deal with a fixed mindset individual. We talk about here at the organization a lot about do unto others as you would like to do them to do unto you, or treat people the way you would like to be treated. But the moment you turn that onto the platinum rule, in other words, treat other people the way they would like to be treated or expect to be treated, then go back to being you, you're going to get far more dynamic traction with individuals. Or even an organization. And then many people now are waking up to the power and importance of these incredible growth mindset characters and individuals, of people who are real sharp creative thinkers. And in that particular scenario, I truly believe, think about relationships, think about our personal relationships, your partner in life. If you've got a fixed mindset, I can guarantee you right now, your relationship's not going to go very well. And when your relationship doesn't go very well, everything else around you doesn't go very well. And it's exactly what we were talking about before coming on board here. What is your environment doing for you as an individual, and doing for you in your career, and doing for you just generally in life? So this whole thing, everything is very, very, very finitely attached. There's a thread going through what we are talking about that brings everything together. And something that really is profound here, Dr. Jacalyn, it's what you have shared. I've been fortunate enough to attend one of your modules in the power of listening, music and drama. And I've had the privilege of meeting Madeline Chan, who is just the most extraordinary individual. But on that amazing show, on that amazing course that you deliver, I truly believe that when you really understand the importance and the power of listening, it'll absolutely be a catalyst to those fixed mindset characters to say, I need to wake up and change.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Something else I want to add is that through most of my career, I have always done something on the side, a side gig, we call it. So whether it was additional education or becoming a makeup artist, whatever it was. And I've had people just really give me a hard time. And actually a couple of years ago, a gentleman said, you don't know what you want. You obviously are really confused because you're doing this and you're doing that. And I said, no, I know exactly what I'm doing. I like to try new things. I'm interested in experiencing new things. And the person kept persevering with it. And so I started questioning myself, and I thought, do I have a growth mindset, or is there something wrong with me? Am I crazy? But I continue to want to experience new things and try new things, knowing that they're not all going to work out.
It's that continuous learning that you're such a good example of. I think for all of us, like the average CEO is going to read maybe 10 books a month. Not the top CEO would be reading 10 books a month because they want to learn all sorts of different angles. So I really admire you doing that, Dr. Jacalyn, and that is a perfect example of having a growth mindset, is continuously learning. The other thing that just sprang to mind while Phil was talking, and while we've been talking about this fixed mindset, growth mindset, when you have a fixed mindset, you're far more anxious, aren't you? Because you don't have these routes to alternative solutions like you might have if you had a growth mindset. When you have a growth mindset, you can look at things both from a logical and analytical perspective, as well as a lateral or creative perspective. And the interesting thing about the brain is When anxiety caused by having a growth mindset becomes stress, what happens is the brain starts producing cortisol, which is an inhibiting chemical, and it slows down the transmission of messages between brain cells. And in fact, if that stress becomes pervasive, it can even kill the dendrites, which are the little branches that come off the brain cells in your brain. So the more you have a fixed mindset, the more anxious you're going to feel, because you will not be able to deal with challenges and setbacks or even handle criticism. And that will result in pervasive stress, which actually makes you dumb, because inhibiting chemicals slow you down. You can't learn quicker. You can't think better. And the very interesting thing about getting into that state of stress is, if you are a dominant left brain thinker, for example, if you are more analytical and logical than creative, what happens is that stress will shut down your creative thinking abilities. If you are a dominant right brain thinker, i.e. more creative, more intuitive, more visual, more imagination, it will shut down your logical and analytical thinking. So all the way through, having a fixed mindset is really bad for you, both from a career point of view, from a relationship point of view, from literally every perspective.
Thank you, Richard.
I mean, has this not just been value?
Oh, I was just thinking that. I thought, I just love working with the two of you, because you bring so much wonderful, important, relevant. I know, I see you back there writing. It's fantastic. Well, this show is just a gift. So thank you both for being here and for doing this. I really appreciate it.
We love being with you.
Thank you. I love being with you both as well. So, Philip, what I would love for you to share, and Richard, for you to also join in, the transition from the British School of Etiquette to the British School of Excellence. What can people expect now? Philip, we'll start with you.
Great question. Yeah, I think one of the key things out there is a lot of people attach sort of, this pompous, old-fashioned approach to society when you mention etiquette and manners. And that's why, again, when we launched the organization, we really brought in this strong element of mindset and emotional intelligence to really get people to understand how to put the flesh on the bone and make sure that etiquette and manners, it's a way of life, it's a lifestyle choice. And as hopefully any good business one wants to grow and explore, and our vision and focus is to be the go-to global brand in the world. We are the market leader in our specific sector, and emotional intelligence was always at the forefront of the organization. And then when Richard and I decided to set up the EQ faculty in its entirety, we really wanted to get the message across that people didn't have to go, etiquette, what is that? And why is this attached with this? And because we've always produced such phenomenal material, and I say that, look, one can go online and have a look at our course check results and feedback from students. Our students are telling us this. We decided that there's so much more we can do to connect with the outside world, and predominantly corporates, because I think a lot of corporates found the word etiquette and manners a little bit fluffy. They didn't quite get the connection. And through a lot of deliberation, we talked about that. I mean, believe it or not, when I launched the British School of Etiquette, I had actually already launched the brand and everything for the British School of Excellence, along with a couple of other sort of names attached to it: the British School of Butlers, the British School of Styling, the British School of emotional intelligence. So all of these things were in the pipeline. They were just waiting to pop. It's just like you were trying, you try so many different things, Dr. Jacalyn. So we knew there was timing was everything. And with Richard's influence and being on board, wanting to launch the shift in high performance selling, wanting to really incorporate, the importance and power of time management, presentation skills, and then really give people the flavor of this is all about being excellent. All of these facets that we're bringing in here, that power of listening, the power of etiquette and manners, the power of EQ, the power of style and presentation, the power of being the best you can possibly be each and every single day, all surrounded by excellence. So that's really, I suppose, in a nutshell, is why we have pivoted to the British School of Excellence. And if you can look at that, is the banner, and we've got all these octopus tentacles with incredible material and tools and content to share with the world.
Well, congratulations, and let's talk about a growth mindset right there. So you were looking at this for a period of time. You had a strategy and a plan and thought, why limit ourselves to this one topic when we have all these others that we can share? So I think that's fantastic. Richard, what would you like to add?
Well, I do have an opportunity to talk to your audience right here and right now, Dr. Jacalyn. So on the 17th of November, I'll be starting a new class called Emotional Intelligence 101. I would love listeners and viewers of this program who have heard some of the things Philip and I have been talking about around emotional intelligence to go on our website, www.thebritishschoolofexcellence.com. Click on the Emotional Intelligence tab, have a look at the Emotional Intelligence 101 class that I'm starting on the 17th of November. It's always a small class. I have no more than 6 to 8 people in my group so that I can give absolute individual attention over a period of 5 weeks. I encourage you to join my class, and if you want to reach out to me, you can reach me at Richard at thebritishschoolofexcellence.com. Send me an email. We can have a phone call. We can have a Zoom session, discuss your unique needs, and make that step and change your life like this has changed my life completely.
Thank you so much, Richard. While I have you on Spotlight, if you can just repeat your contact information again, that would be great. I'm actually creating something about your course that people can see in the comments. And there it is.
Thank you so much. So I'm at Richard at thebritishschoolofexcellence.com. I think the best way is to reach out to me on email. Do it that way, or you could reach the organization through hello@thebritishschoolofexcellence.com or Philip at thebritishschoolofexcellence.com. Reach out to us. We'll get hold of you. Let's have a conversation about your life, about your work, and about how we can help you to build confidence and give you the tools that you can change your life, improve your relationships, and achieve the goals that you have the potential to achieve.
Thank you so much, Richard. And I want to let our audience know that I don't know why I haven't thought of this in the last year, but yesterday I realized that I can put all the information about our speakers and our guests right in the comments. If people aren't seeing the banner, and then it's out there forever. All they have to do is look at the comments and all the contact information is there. So the information about your course is there, and both of your contact information there as well. So yay. And Richard, I understand you're going to be coming back to visit with us again next week.
Yes, thank you so much. My dear friend Philip, you're going to be caught in the classroom next week, Friday, doing your amazing Train the Trainer program, which if anybody wants to get into training etiquette and coaching etiquette, please look at Philip's Train the Trainer program. It's a magnificent program, truly empowering. If you want to get into the business of helping other people develop their etiquette, manners, and emotional intelligence, you've got to go on that course. Now, next week, Friday, Dr. Jacalyn and I are going to be interviewing Elsa Butterick, who is a fantastic image stylist out of Paris in Europe. And I'm looking so forward to co-hosting that program with you, Dr. Jacalyn. Let's learn about what we should be wearing, what colors we should be wearing, how we should be styling ourselves, how we should be styling our brand. So that's very exciting. That's coming up next Friday on the show, and I'm looking so forward to co-hosting it with you, Dr. Jacalyn.
Thank you so much. I'm excited about it as well.
I better shape up my look. I probably should
at the British School of Excellence, we've been working with she, again, an amazing growth mindset. She's come through so many of our programs, and one thing that we are fully focused on is partnerships and helping one another as much as we can. And I've had the privilege of working with Elsa now for the last 3 or 4 years, and she really is a mine of information. She's got that wonderful French accent for a start, and she's spent a lot of work doing a lot of work in Miami in the past, Paris, London. So she's incredibly a very global, got huge global experience. But I just want to add a little bit of value to this, just to lead into next Friday. And I'm sorry I'm not going to be with you all. If there is a break in my course during the course of Friday next week, I'll definitely try and pop in. But many years ago, like a lot of us tend to spend so much time wasting our time on social media, as in flicking through Facebook or flicking through, I don't know, all this nonsense that's out there. And one thing I've always been very focused on is just what Richard was saying. You want to see the top people in this world? You want to see people who succeed? I'll show you their library. I'll show you the books they read. And I've always made it a very sort of poignant point in my life to take an advantage of me time. And getting on aircrafts in the past, I would always look for something of educational value first, before I sort of sat and relaxed, ready for the journey. And one of the many things that caught my attention was a fantastic TED talk, and it was talking about style and talking about clothing and image. And think about this, and I always have my pen and paper, as I think a lot of you know now, but what you wear can affect your mood. And clothing affects your health, well-being, and mood, and what you wear matters. There's a thing called enclothes cognition, and it's a symbolic meaning of clothing and the symbolic feeling of wearing clothing. It's a direct correlation of how you feel about yourself. And funny enough, there's a professor here in the United Kingdom called Taryn J. Pine, and she wrote a book called Mind What You Wear, The Psychology of Fashion. And she states in her book that when you put clothes on, you adapt to the characteristics of what you are wearing. And that's why you feel invincible when you put on your power suit. And I just really urge all of you to show up. And everything in life, you talk about growth mindset, 90% of it is showing up.
Yes, hear, hear. Woo!
So that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Well, gentlemen, it has been an absolute pleasure and privilege and honor to do this show with you. And I'm so glad that we have so many people watching and getting a lot of value out of it. So well done.
Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn, as always. Rich.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. Thank you, Phil, for having me. And I'm looking so forward to seeing you next week, Dr. Jacalyn.
As am I. And as I mentioned in the comments on all the social media platforms are your contact information. Philip, I just posted about Train the Trainer, and we have your course, Richard, so people can go there and see it and sign up. Don't wait. Go from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset and watch your world expand.
Exactly.
Love it.
All right, we are going to close out the show right now, and we will be back with Fashion, Fitness, Travel, and Leisure at noon Eastern time, which is 4 p.m. British Summer Time. I also want to announce that here in the States, we are going to Daylight Savings Time on the 7th. So this week, the shows have been all different times, but now they'll be back to the regular schedule, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah. Great.
All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you again next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.